Which parks are winning the battle for most visitors in the new Six Flags chain, and which ones might be left behind? To dig up that data, we're diving into attendance numbers from Six Flags and Cedar Fair legacy parks in 2023.
Is that the last year that data was available?
Yes!
These numbers will tell us more than just who was popular. They will reveal the future of investments, expansion, and even possible closures. We're breaking down the top performing parks across the legacy Six Flags and Cedar Fair chains and showing you what these rankings could mean for 2025 and beyond. According to ACOM, the total attendance for all Six Flags and Cedar Fair parks in 2023 was 48.9 million people. Split out roughly, that is 55% to Cedar Fair and 45% to Six Flags. So if you want to know where the money, new rides, and attention are going, this list is it. Before we dive in, just a quick note, this data comes from ACOM, which gets its estimates using industry analysts, media reports, and expert research. It's not an official park released data set, but it's considered one of the most reliable public sources out there for theme park attendance. So with that said, let's jump in. This iconic Canadian park dropped over 500,000 visitors from 2022 to 2023, but it still made up the top 5. Why is that? Sheer size. This park has 17 roller coasters and massive family areas. It remains the go-to park for all residents in Ontario. There are reasons though for this decline in attendance at Canada's Wonderland. Most likely, this is a signal of revenge travel, meaning that after people were stuck inside from COVID, there was a spike in travel in 2022 from people who couldn't travel like they used to. This returned to normal in 2023. But Canada's Wonderland was probably hit hardest from COVID. They are still trying to recover from the same attendance numbers that they had prior to the year 2020. Some other contributors to the decline in visitors could have been weather, no new major attractions were added, there's also competition with other amusement parks, and just visitor fatigue, meaning guests are getting tired and overwhelmed during their park visit, or there might be long waits, too much walking, sensory overload. There's all these factors. Magic Mountain came in at 3.4 million visitors in 2023. They gained actually 400,000 visitors over 2022. That's a huge win for this park, who is often criticized for having some aging infrastructure and staffing issues. One of the big reasons for the attendance boost could have been that it was the first full season that Wonder Woman Flight of Courage operated. But its biggest draw has to be its reputation. It's known as the thrill capital of the world. It has 19 operating coasters, and this gives it a major advantage. Moving to number 3 on the list is Kings Island, with 3.5 million visitors. Kings Island quietly climbed 150,000 visitors between 2022 and 2023. It didn't open any new major coasters, but it did what smart parks do. It had solid seasonal events, reliable ops, and some smart marketing. Its Halloween Haunt and Winterfest events continued to be major drivers. This brings us to our number 2 spot of most attended parks in the Six Flags Cedar Fair Legacy Parks. Coming in at number 2 is Cedar Point with 4.1 million visitors. Back from the pandemic dip, Cedar Point gained 600,000 visitors year over year in 2023, and it falls in the number 2 most visited park. What initially caused this dip that led to this massive increase in attendance in 2023? Well, this dip is most likely related to 2 large hits Cedar Point took from the pandemic, which would be number 1, and 2 would be the closing of Top Thrill Dragster in 2021. But Cedar Point finally recovered from those two major hits in 2023 because of its solid reputation. They ended up passing their attendance that they had in 2019 prior to those two events happening. And with its location, people need a reason to travel there. It took some time to get over the loss of a major coaster and the pandemic to realize that this park still has a solid lineup of coasters. I mean, it's known as the roller coaster capital of the world, and 2023 proved that still to be true. Now, wait a minute. We've already mentioned all of the major parks in the Six Flags Cedar Fair chains, haven't we? So what could be number one? There is one sleeper park left. And that is Knott's Berry Farm with 4.23 million visitors in 2023. Knott's was the most visited park in either chain and is most likely holding that same title today. Why, you may ask? The Southern California location, the year-round operations, and local loyalty all played a factor into that. But the real story is the park's deep theming, solid food festivals like the Boysenberry Festival, and top-tier seasonal events. It's not just a theme park, it's a local institution. It also has one of the most prime locations of any Six Flags theme park, located 20 miles from downtown LA. It's also located within 10 minutes of one of the most visited parks in the world, Disneyland. This could help its attendance just from that simple fact. This spillover effect from Disneyland has most likely put Knott's Berry Farm in a better position than other Six Flags parks. I mean, compared to Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm has positioned itself as a more affordable, classic alternative, and people can tag on another nearby park while they're in town. We are still waiting on the 2024 and 2025 attendance numbers, but these 2023 numbers tell a story. So here are my predictions for the top 5 most visited Six Flags parks. Coming in at number 5 would be Six Flags Magic Mountain. Still waiting on this new coaster announcement, but I think this park will see similar numbers to 2023 and 2024. At number 4, my prediction is Kings Island. They have always been a solid park with a solid ride lineup, and it will stay in that position. Number 3 will be Canada's Wonderland. With Alpenfury opening, I think Canada's Wonderland will jump from number 5 in 2023 up to number 3 in 2025 of the most visited Six Flags parks. And Canada's Wonderland still hasn't fully recovered from the pandemic attendance numbers, so it may be a few more years before we see bigger numbers from them. My number 2 prediction is Cedar Point. My reasoning is that Top Thrill 2 and Siren's Curse will be open by the end of 2025, and we'll see some record-breaking numbers coming out in the 2025 and 2026 seasons. But I still think that one park will still hit numbers higher than Cedar Point. And you may have guessed it, but I still think that Knott's Berry Farm will still hold that top most attended park in the Six Flags Cedar Fair chains. Again, other than the 2020 COVID year, Knott's has been one of the most visited parks in the chain since 2013. And I don't think they're going anywhere in 2024 and 2025. With their year-round operations and their prime location, it's hard for them to miss or drop too much in a year. And they'll still be the most visited park in the chain. So really, what do these 2023 attendance numbers show us? So to give some context here, we need to talk about the number 6 and number 7 most visited parks. Those would be Six Flags Great America and Six Flags Great Adventure. If you combine these 7 parks, the 5 most visited that we originally talked about, and these 2 additional parks, they make up half of all the attendance of Six Flags Legacy and Six Flags Cedar Fair parks in 2023. That is a mouthful there, but what I'm trying to make a point of is that Six Flags executives are going to see these as the top tier parks in their newly merged chain. So when they look down to invest in any of their parks, they're going to start with these top performing parks. So new rides, probably going to these parks. Capital budgets, focusing here. Ride removals and downsizing, likely not at these parks on this top tier list. With a few exceptions like Superman Escape from Krypton and Kingda Ka. The investments back up these speculations. We've already seen major dollars go to Cedar Point with Top Thrill 2 and Siren's Curse, and Canada's Wonderland getting Alpine Fury. And the sad side of this is parks that are less focused on will be those that are less attended, like Six Flags America, for example, that is set to close here at the end of 2025. Or other parks that may go 5, 10, or more years without any major capital investment or new rides. For example, Six Flags St. Louis had its last new coaster edition in 2013, and that was just a Vekoma boomerang model. We've already seen predictions around the future of parks closing, which are not only low performing, but also come with higher costs per guest. And if there's a combination where the park is poor performing, low attendance, and it has valuable land it's sitting on, it's not looking great for those parks. So drop a comment below if you visited any of these top performing parks in the last year, or if you think another park deserves to be in the top 5. If the Six Flags parks we listed were the winners in 2023, the real question is who will be the most visited parks in 2025 and beyond. We've got new rides coming, park mergers continuing, and billions in investment planned. Make sure and subscribe because next week we're dropping a full breakdown of the top most visited parks around the world. And trust me, there are a few more surprises on that list.